Hey guys, and welcome back to the SSF journey. Today we're going to be continuing on with the Scavenger versus Whisperer for Power Siphon Locust Mines. I'm going to start off first in King's March. Because we have gotten through the leveling and gotten through the campaign, I'm going to allow myself to use King's March just because it's really helpful for finding gear pretty quickly. So far the poll is currently sitting at people wanting me to use the gear that I found to do the comparison, and yeah, we'll just leave that up for a little bit longer and see what comes from that. My thoughts are maybe towards the end of this, when this character is about level 92, 93, 94, whatever it gets up to, then we do, match the gear on each character, see what the damage is like. We can either check it in PoE or check it in-game to see which one feels better running, just a white tier 16 map as an example. But first of all, I'm going to respec this character a little bit. Well, we won't have enough gold, but I'm going to use some regrets from the stash. So yeah, as you can see, that was quite a big respec. The respec has basically brought us pretty much in line as to where the Whisperer was on day one, around the same level. Pretty much identical trees. The only thing that is different now is the ascendancy, and yeah, just hoping that this feels a little bit better. But obviously some more power charges spec'd into the mana reservation node just so I can run an extra aura, and yeah, had to drop some accuracy, so build's going to feel a little bit iffy for a little bit, but just maybe level up precision a bit, maybe put on arrogance, and then yeah, we should be okay. As for gear, gonna do that as whatever I find and whatever I can craft. I do currently have discipline and some Skitterbots. I'm not sure how the builder is going to feel in terms of tankiness, so I'm just going to swap and change between the two to find out which one feels better and then give my feedback. It is time for the first map. Going to be running a little bit of a juiced map. Not sure how the build will fare, but yeah, we'll give it a try. We'll sort out the flasks eventually, just haven't really dropped any. So yeah, got one from a quest reward, which was a jade flask, and that's it, and I haven't put that on yet. Feeling pretty good and pretty safe so far. Does definitely feel like I'm taking quite a bit of damage at the moment. Obviously running Skitterbots, so might want to swap that just early on so we get some better gear. For what that was, but that hurt a lot. I'm capped. Have to double check. That was pretty easy. I'd say the build feels pretty safe. Running a tier 1 map that's rare as your first map is pretty good. And this is still all the gear that I gathered from campaign. I haven't changed any pieces out yet. So yep, no changes at all. Besides the skill tree being redone a tiny bit. So far, the damage early feels much better than the Whisperer. The only thing that isn't as apparent is the massive screen wide clear, but think the added damage makes it feel better, just at the moment. And the gear that is currently on the Scavenger is a lot worse than Soul Eater. Least favorite archetype. Anyways, yeah, the gear that the Scavenger currently has is a lot worse than what the Whisperer had on day one, just because on day one Whisperer had access to King's March, and Scavenger hasn't had any access to that just yet. Speaking of which, I still need to send out my boats. And then the true challenge, Resume All. I'm going to try and charge it up to about halfway and see how that goes. Pretty comfortable. But yeah, that was map 1 done with the character. Felt pretty good. Just going to keep on leveling, not going to take you along for every single map. Come back at important breakpoints and gear pieces that I found as upgrades. Going to jump straight to tier 3 maps. Build can definitely handle it. These are just some that I had lying around. So yeah, just trying to speed things up so we aren't here for the rest of our lives. That's a pretty nice upgrade. Hopefully we can, yeah, just put it straight on. There's a little bit of fire race, but yeah, not too bad. So just hopping back in, managed to find myself a pretty big upgrade of a wand. Just crafted on some increased spell damage from the crafting bench, and then increased spell damage from King's March. And that should give us pretty big chunk of damage. Doubles on the tooltip. Obviously tooltip doesn't really mean much, but it's a good indicator to see if the weapon's actually an upgrade or not. And upgrading from a level 30 weapon to, you know, something with a lot more flat lightning and a lot more spell damage is just really good. So yeah, we'll see how the build feels after that. Should be even better. Just another quick little tip. If you're running arrogance and precision, you want to make sure that your precision doesn't reserve more than 10% of your life. And then you want to click the life mastery, which is you count as full life when on 90% of maximum life or above, just so that if you are using Fox Shade, you still gain all the benefits of being on full life, which is obviously that increased movement speed, and then the global evasion rating and damage of enemies hitting you is unlucky when you're on full life. Just helps you to keep that up. The extra movement speed is really nice. I'm probably going to swap out of Fox Shade into Cloak of Flames, I think it is, which is physical taken as fire pretty soon, just because getting up there in levels and wanting to kind of transition into a bit more of a defensive build and push higher raid tier maps. That was very lucky. So now I don't know what the plan is to craft it. Don't really have a plan. Was kind of just clicking fusings on a random 6 socket that dropped to see what would happen. And now what a 5-link. So yeah, maybe some chaos rays. Always good to have. Don't really need the cold, so yeah, kind of just chaos rays and some good prefixes, and we'll be set. Pretty happy with those. That's not too bad. Now we just craft percentage, and it's a new body armor for us. Oh, a nice high roll too. Good evasion rating. Definitely help a lot. And now we can put in our elemental damage with attacks that we dropped while leveling. Just a quick update on the build and what changes I have made. Currently sitting at level 79 and done another little bit of a respec. So in the last clip you saw that I managed to get a lucky 5-link, and yeah, just decided now would be a good time to swap ascendancies. So I've swapped away from Fox Shade to Cloak of Flame, which is extra physical damage taken as fire. Well, not extra, but just physical damage taken as fire, which will... The full life was pretty good, but because we are reserving some of our life, it does stop us from having that up all the time. So it's kind of like good to evade one hit and then the next hit comes through and you don't evade it and you get really hurt really quickly. Because of the current body armor that I have, where it's got no life or anything on it, I can actually swap out this node here and swap it to 15% increased life, which is a little bit more, which is always welcome. Respec this part of the tree a little bit, so instead of going through this way, going around that way, and just one more level, and then got explosive elements again, which will be very helpful. And then want to grab Fusillade, which is just really good. Accuracy is always something that you're going to need on the build. As you level up, your accuracy just gets worse and worse and worse, and then it falls off, and yeah, it feels terrible. But now that we have dropped the full life stuff, where we don't need it for extra movement speed, we can level up our precision higher. I'm just keeping mine at level 12 for now, just because my accuracy is okay and I would like to have as much life as possible. I've also swapped from running Skitterbots to running Discipline instead, just for the time being, just to get my tankiness up a little bit, and the extra bit of life that EHP that it gives you is really good. So it gives me about 550 or so energy shield, which is extra life, which is obviously really good to have. And having good evasion rating with flasks up, it just makes extra sense to have Ghost Dance, and yeah, gaining all that extra energy shield, super helpful, super nice, makes the build feel much tankier in maps. And then yeah, speaking of flasks, quartz, jade flask, silver flask, and a quicksilver with a life flask. I still don't have any anti-bleed, which I do need to roll. Just kind of forgot to, and just remembered in this exact moment that I need to do that. Can get to level 80, then go and do Uberlab and grab Fury Valve, which should help quite a lot in terms of clear speed. So far the build has felt pretty good for just general mapping and map bosses. Haven't obviously done any other bosses. But yeah, clear speed does seem to be lacking a little bit. Hopefully Fury Valve fixes that, and then don't have to worry about anything and can just cruise on up to level 92 and then do a full-on comparison between Whisperer and Scavenger and see which one is truly better. In my honest opinion so far, I'm leaning heavily towards Whisperer just because the early mapping feels a lot smoother with a Awakened Fork and just permanent uptime on frenzies and power charges. But yeah, build's not too bad. So far enjoying it. Just going to keep grinding.